Hello friends, in this video we are going to be going over yesterday's math review and POD, so go ahead and grab that so you can self-assess your work. Let's start with number 1. Ms. Roy is buying 2 computers for her store. The price of the first computer is shown below, $2,749. The digit 4 in the price of the second computer is 100 times the value of the digit 4 in the price of the first computer. Which amount could be the price of the second computer? Okay, so I noticed that we don't know the price of the second computer, but we do know that it has a digit 4 in the price of the second computer. That is 100 times the digit 4 in the price of the first one. So here is the price of the first one. I see that the digit 4 has a value of 40. And the second computer is 100 times. It's a value of a 4, 100 times that. So when I do this, I know that I can cross out my zeros at first. 4 times 1 is 4. And now I'm going to add my 3 zeros that I just crossed out. It's just powers of 10. And I notice that the second computer has to have a digit 4 that is worth 4,000. So let's look at the choices. This 4 is 400. That doesn't make sense. This 4 is the same value as that. So that definitely doesn't make sense. That would be a common error. That 4, oh yeah, that does match up. And this 4 has a value of 41, so that doesn't match up. The best answer is C. Go ahead and mark it right if that is what you got. Good work. Let's move on. Marcos picks 65 berries from a berry bush. He uses 17 of them to make a pie. He places the remaining berries into 8 bowls. Which equation can be used to determine the number of berries that Marcos places into each? Not gift back. We're talking about bowls. Okay. So if he started off with 65 berries and the problem says he uses 17 of them, if you use something, we know that that means you are going to be taking away, or the amount is decreasing by 17. You're subtracting. So we just did 65 minus 17. The remaining berries are put into 8 bowls. So out of this, whatever we have left, they're put into 8 bowls, and we're trying to find out how many are going to go into each. So that means we're dividing by 8. So let's look at the equations below, and let's see which of them matches the work that we just did up here. 65 minus 8. See, these numbers are kind of mixed up here. That doesn't make sense. 65 plus 8. Nope, we're not adding. 65 minus 8 minus 17. That's the same one as up here. That doesn't make sense. 65 minus 17, that matches what we did, divided by 8. Yep, that makes sense. So we choose D as our correct answer. Go ahead and check your work, and let's move on. Okay, we're up to question 3, which reads, the workers at a bakery are putting 3,478 donuts into boxes. Each box must hold exactly 6 donuts. What is the total number of boxes the workers can fill completely? So we have a total, and we know the number of groups. Oh, no, sorry. We know the group size. We're trying to find a number of groups. So let's go ahead and take that total, 3,478. If it's being divided equally, and each box must hold exactly 6, we know we're dividing by 6. So I'm going to ask myself, what number can be divided, how many times can 34 be divided by 6? Well, we can list out our facts here. I like to start with 5. So 6 times 5 is 30. And 6 times 6 is equal to 36. So if I only have 34, oh, sorry, that's not showing. There you go. If I only have 34, I can't make 6 groups. I can only make 5 groups. So I'm going to record the number of groups up here. So 6 times 5 gives me 30. So I'm going to subtract this to see what my remainder is. And now I'm going to regroup the 7. Okay. So now I have 47. So let's continue working up here. So if 6 times 6 is equal to 36, I know that 6 times 7 will be equal to 42. And 6 times 8 will be equal to 48. If I only have 47, I can't make 8 groups, can only make 7 groups. So we're going to record that up here. 6 times 7 is 42. 47 minus 42 gives us a remainder of 5. Now let's regroup this 8 down here. if we continue down here, we know that 6 times 9 is equal to 54, and 6 times 10 is equal to 60. So if I have 58, that means I can make 9 groups. I'm going to record my groups up here. 6 times 9 is equal to 54. So 58 minus 54 gives us 4, and there's nothing left to regroup. So this becomes our remainder. Now the final question is, what is the total number of boxes that the workers can fill completely? So we know they can fill 579 boxes completely, and there'll be 4 donuts left over. So our final answer is 579 boxes. We're not counting the remainder. Okay, if that's what you got, go ahead and give yourself a check. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Which statement is true? So we're going to read each of these statements and we're going to see which one is true. So we have 3/8 is more than 7/12 because 7/12 is greater than a half. That's true, 7/12 is greater than a half. And 3/8 is closer to 1 than a half. If that was true, then this statement would be written the other way. So that would be incorrect. 7/12 is less than 3/8 because 3/8 and 7/12 are both closer to 1 than a half. So that doesn't make sense because it doesn't really show us how 7/12 would be less than 3/8. It's just telling us that they're both close to 1. 7/12 is less than 3/8 because 7/12 and 3/8 are both less than a half. Then that statement doesn't help us to compare these two fractions either. Let's look at the next one. 3/8 is less than 7/12 because 3/8 is less than a half and 7/12 is greater than a half. Well, that proves it. 3/8 is less than a half and 7/12 is greater than a half. So definitely 7/12 is greater than 3/8. So we choose D. Go ahead and check your work now. Let's move on. Brian spent 3/8 of an hour reading on each of 4 days this week. How long did Brian spend reading this week? So if he's reading 3/8 of an hour 4 days a week, we know that we're doing 3/8 4 times. So I can do a multiplication equation like yesterday or the day before, or I can just do some repeated addition. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that matches the number of days. So 3 plus 3 is 6, plus 3 is 9, plus 3 is 12 out of 8. And I see that this fraction is a fraction greater than 1, which means I could leave it like this and label it as hours, or I can rename it. Let's rename it. 12 divided by 8. I can make one group, one entire group, and I'm going to have 4 remaining. 4 out of 8. And we can label that with units, hours. Okay, let's move along. We have draw line segment. Segment is an academic vocabulary that means part. So we know that a line segment looks like this, part of a line. It has 2 endpoints. A line has no endpoints. It can continue forever, and these arrows are a symbol of that. An array has 1 endpoint and 1 side that can continue going on forever. Go ahead and self-assess your work.